for a new movie. Just premiered in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Called Deadpool and Wolverine.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
Never
Interesting.
I think I've heard of that second one, though.
Dude, Deadpool?
No, the Wolverine fella. Ain't that an animal?
Well, yeah, it's really cool. It's an animal. But he's also a comic book character. Hi, guys. Welcome to Comic Book Report.
God.
I apologize. Shut up. My roommate's currently getting water instead of taking a shower like they said they would.
Dude, you're going to have to cut that one. Dude.
Okay, so heads up for today's recording. I am coming off of a cold, or like a sick, so my throat doesn't feel great. While we were watching the movie, which we just watched, my throat, I downed like 8 fucking cough drops, and my voice still sounds like this. So
you know the more you take, the more it doesn't help, right? Like, you have to wait in between, right?
That would have been great to know.
Sorry, I didn't expect you to eat cough drops like fucking candy, dude.
Delicious. This actually really sucks.
I would say, because they're barely even actual medicine. It's just meant to lubricate your throat. That's all it really does.
So, welcome to Comic Book Report. And instead of doing a comic book, we decided every 5th episode we're going to do a movie.
Yeah.
And today's movie,
my name movie,
in the term of Deadpool and Wolverine, we're going to be talking about Logan.
Oh, I've heard about that fella.
Logan?
Yeah, Logan.
His name is James Howlett.
No, his name's Logan, dude. We just watched
I found out while watching the movie that Cody actually does not know a lot about Wolverine.
I know that he's like...
I would love to join in with you today, but you saw that after the movie, and I physically cannot. I physically cannot do my funny little noises.
Yeah, no.
That liven up everyone's day.
I say, I know a decent amount about, like, the contemporary stuff about Wolverine. I don't know, like, his full backstory. Because the closest thing I've ever gotten to a close, full backstory of Wolverine was the shitty torrent of Wolverine Origins I watched as a child.
I find that crazy that that's how you watched it.
Dude, I cannot believe me and my friend had the same experience, but it's that shitty torrent where you can see the line work of the CGI animations like 2/3 of the movie. I did not know Deadpool was in that movie until I was way older, because it was all just CGI. That's why whenever everyone's like, Ryan Reynolds returns as Deadpool, I was like, when did he start?
Yeah, no, he was Deadpool. He was Deadpool in a couple things.
I see. For me, the first time I ever seen Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool was the first Deadpool movie. Okay. That was it.
Yeah, no, he was in one of the X-Men movies, and he was in Origins Wolverine.
I would say, because for me,
they had been threatening to do a Deadpool movie for like 6 years.
Yeah, I say, because whatever Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, if he is in another X-Men movie, I've never seen it. I saw Origins, but I could not see the Deadpool part. And the only exposure I had to Deadpool prior to that was an X-Men's team fight game that I had, and the Deadpool video game for the PlayStation 3, which did not have Ryan Reynolds voicing it. It was that one dude. So for the longest time, I envisioned Deadpool.
Was it Nolan North?
Voice. I think it was Nolan North.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, Wolverine. No, I was talking about Wolverine, and Cody was like, he was born in when? Because
I didn't know he was like 200 years old.
Yeah. No, because Cody's like, well, he got his adamantium, because we were talking during the movie, and Cody was like, well, he got his adamantium whenever he was like 20. I'm like, he got it in the 80s whenever he was like 130, and you were like, what? But no, Wolverine is one of the biggest characters in like Marvel Universe.
Means Wolverine could have stopped World War II.
He was in World War II. At least they show it in X-Men Origins. We're not talking about that movie though. We're talking about Logan, 2017. What is the name of the lead actor? Holy shit. Hugh Jackman. Thank you. Hugh Jackman is the lead. Daphne Keane is X-23. Sir Patrick Stewart is fucking Professor X. And then, of course...
the Sir like we're in the fucking Queen's England right now.
He is a Sir.
Or King's, I guess. Queen dead.
But James Mangold directing, who I'm not familiar with. I didn't want to do any research on this because it's just going to fucking go.
Yeah, we're here about the movie. We're not here about...
the production
I think
history.
It's different in a comic book thing because, like, as I talked about before, there's a lot more analysis in a media literature versus, like, in the movies you get what you have, you know what I mean? Like, obviously there's deeper meaning behind it, but, like, a movie's a movie. Comic books, there's
Plus, it's a history.
Canonized events.
It's a history and a style you're relatively unfamiliar with, whereas I know a lot more. So I prefer doing the research with the comic ones.
Also, I would argue there's a lot more like creative influence into a comic book versus
2017 movie Logan. Massive fucking spoilers. Holy shit. For this fucking movie. Like,
someone dies at the end.
Someone dies at the end.
It's not who you think it is. Dude.
It's not who you think it is. It was my will to live. This is a movie, man. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your feelings. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your feelings.
So basically, Wolverine's a divorced drunk dad.
No.
And then he's like,
Zooey mama.
He's like, Zooey mama. I got a daughter? That's crazy. I only hooked up with like 5 hookers.
I think it's really funny that if you change the font of the movie, it's just like a sitcom premise.
It's literally The Last of Us, dude. I don't know how much I have to tell you this. This is X-Men Last of Us.
No.
I'm kind of spitting.
No, that would have been a good subtitle for the movie, though. Yeah. X-Men The Last of Us.
Oh, my lord.
That would actually go kind of hard, don't you?
Listen, so everyone out there, Wolverine's Joel, alright?
You're stopping.
X-23 is
You're
Ellie.
not stopping.
And Charles Xavier's a clicker.
He has seizures.
No, it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I remember it being really good when I first watched it. It's just I didn't really remember the movie as well.
I watched this movie. I said it on recording, but I watched this movie in theaters, like when it came out with my mom.
Yeah.
Which made the titty flash that much funnier. I don't know. I really love this movie. I wanted to get a physical copy of it whenever I got the chance, but I didn't end up getting it. But I really like this movie.
Yeah.
Saw it back when I was in high school. I refuse to believe that. My roommate just texted Cody and said that Wolverine is a jeans brand.
Well, I heard her when she first said it. I just wasn't going to repeat it because, like, I'm not going to steal a joke, you know?
Yeah, you would.
Dude, all my jokes are original. There's only one joke thief at this table, and sir, it is not me.
No, I really like this movie. I feel like there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
I feel like it was one of the details I like, and as someone who has kind of grown more into like the comics like community and in like universe, I realized that like I do kind of like it whenever they're a little bit more comic booky, but this one I feel like I'm glad that it isn't, because the themes that they're going for with it is I think is really interesting. And I like where they take like these characters, especially since it's one of the best parts about like comic books, like alternate continuity comic books, is seeing these characters and putting them into alternate like odd scenarios. Yeah. And so this type of scenario I think is a really interesting one for characters like Professor X and Logan, which is to not even mention the fact that it's based off of a comic called Old Man Logan. Very loosely based off of a comic called Old Man Logan. In fact, you want to know what the like one factor that is both together between them is?
They die.
It's the old man. It's the Old Man Logan. That's really the only difference. He's kind of he's more of a pacifist in the comic. But no, the big difference between the two of them is that the Marvel universe.
He's like,
he's not like that.
Yeah, it was very anti. The whole movie.
Yeah. So yeah, you wanna what do you wanna talk about this movie?
Okay, so you start off with Logan. He's sleeping in a limousine. He owns said limousine.
Uh-huh.
And then there's some fellas trying to chop up his limo.
Yeah.
And then it's like, listen, guys, I don't want to hurt you. And then he gets fucking shot by a shotgun, right?
Oh, shit.
And they're like, yeah, get back to chopping, dude. And then he gets up and he's like, dude, not freaking cool, dude. I just bought this suit. And then they're like, Zooey mama, he came back up. So then Wolverine gruesomely kills them to kind of like set the mood of the movie.
Yeah.
And it goes to like the fucking gas station bathroom to change clothes and wash up. And it's like, oh man, my limo's all fucked up. In the middle of him doing his jobs. He's doing a thing for a funeral. This Mexican woman's like, Wolverine, you're Wolverine. He's like, I'm Logan now.
He's gonna recount the whole movie like
that's kind of the point, yeah.
Yeah. Nah. Basically, the plot is you gotta get Professor X and X-23, who's this girl, who's like a Wolverine daughter clone.
Yeah, she was made in a lab, but it was through his. They specifically said in the movie, quote unquote, artificial seed of Wolverine that they put into, and I quote, Mexican women that were never seen again.
Yeah.
And they specifically mentioned young, which I don't know about you, but puts in my head that they like. I'm talking like 16 to 18.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. Or you know,
it's like kind of gross.
No, but the whole basic idea is that like Logan's got to take this girl Laura and Professor X to North Dakota for a reason, basically to get them safe, and he's a little asshole the entire time.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, you forgot the most important thing. So Xavier has seizures.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you about the characters in particular, and I wanted to talk about Professor X.
Yeah.
About this like portrayal, because they kind of go for like
senile old man.
Yeah, senile old man. Something new. Chalupa new with Taco Bell, which I thought that was this movie's really funny.
Well, to be fair, whenever they're doing like the senile part at the beginning, it's very clearly they say it as if he's drugged.
Yeah,
because from what I can tell, the reason he acts like that is not because of his seizure medicine.
Yeah.
Or the stuff that makes him stop seizures. They were giving him even extra drugs so that way he was complacent in the tank.
Yeah, because the whole point behind him being in a tank is to kind of make it so his powers don't like hurt other people.
Yeah.
Because they explain down the line that something happened in Westchester with Professor X's brain, where he basically caused a bunch of people to go paralysis and killed a bunch of the X-Men.
Yeah.
His brain basically went nuke. Yeah. And he killed a bunch of people by accident because he couldn't control, like, his powers, right? Yeah. So that's kind of why Logan is keeping him in this state of, like, duress.
Yeah.
Is, like, for his and other people's safety.
Yeah.
And it's kind of heartbreaking because this is the Professor X from, like, all the movies. Yeah. And Patrick Stewart is such a good actor, and that he has done this character for so long that it's just kind of heartbreaking seeing the character be in that state, you know?
Yeah. Well, like, it's just like, it is kind of fucked up. Like, I think it's a good decision that they made, because like how we talked about before that like Professor X's body doesn't move as a limitation to his telepathy because of how strong his brain is. Yeah. It also kind of makes sense that mutation would like give him, because they say specifically he's having seizures because of a brain deteriorating disease. Because they're like, what is it, Alzheimer's, ASL, like
ALS. Stuff. Yeah, because the whole deal is that he's like 90. There's the whole joke with what's his dick, where it's like, the most well-known, the most dangerous octogenarian, and he's like, I'm actually a nonagenarian. You know, he's 90. Like, of course his brain's gonna like degrade. But no, I like that even in this like withered state, he's still like, we have to help people. You know, it's the right thing to do. You know, he's like.
He called Logan a disappointment like 5 times, which I thought was funny.
It was very funny because it's kind of true. Because if we're gonna talk about Logan, he's just so dead. Like.
Yeah, he talks multiple times about he just plans on killing himself.
But in the movie, he's like, it's not just that. He's like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. He's
a deadbeat. Like,
he's basically a walking corpse at that point.
Yeah,
like,
he's an alcoholic.
He's an alcoholic. His healing factor's lower. In the first fight, at the very start of the movie, one of his claws just struggles to come out. He has to sit there in a fucking motel bathroom and physically push the fucking bullets out of his body. Yeah. Which I said this while we were watching, but I wanted to say it again. It's really uncomfortable, the idea that like the character with like the greatest healing factor in all of comics has to like physically like push bullets out of him.
Yeah. And he's like slowly just kind of becoming this corpse, but then throughout the movie you learn that he's slowly dying. Yeah. And what's really interesting, all right, and this is I think the main thing I want to talk about, is that they talk about Professor X, during his senile ramblings with Logan, talks about how he predicts that there's going to be like this new generation of mutants, right? Because, and they explicitly show in multiple newspapers that mutant like births are at its lowest. Mutants are at their lowest in population ever, and they're kind of just like weeding out society. And then we learn about these test tube baby mutants, which are like the new generation. That's where like X-23 comes from,
like Laura and all the other people.
Yeah, and all like the Edens and stuff like that. That's where they come from. Is that this company was like, oh, let's just make our own mutants so that we can have super soldiers, right?
Yeah.
Well, like later in the movie, because they talk about one of the farm scene, right? Which I'm assuming you want to talk about the farm scene.
We can talk about it in a minute.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. I want to talk about my thing. They talk about how there's this company that makes this, like, they call it super corn, where it's like really high GMO, and they put in the high fructose corn syrup as drink everywhere.
And it's revealed.
Yeah, it's revealed towards the end of the movie that the one of the main like dudes of the company, the doctor, Dr. Rice, that they have genetically modified food over time to just cease all mutant births.
Yeah, which I thought was like a really good idea, because it's kind of like this whole like, it takes the minority politics of X-Men
because it's eugenics.
Because it's eugenics, right? Yeah. And I feel like that was a good choice. Eugenics was a good choice in the story.
Yeah.
To kind of give it that weight, because again, it's the characters who are stuck in this scenario.
Yeah.
Who are, they're It's this kind of idea, because mutants in the comics or in the movies, they're an underclass,
Yeah, they're hated. They're like seen lowered because of their their mistakes. Right?
Yeah. They're like freaks of nature.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I do like, as you said, like it does make sense to have like a eugenicist plot for like a future thing, because like I feel like that fits a lot better than like the stereotypical like future Days of Tomorrow, where it's like the government goes into police state, sentries everywhere, we need to gun down all the mutants,
That's a comic we need to read, Days of Future Past.
Yeah, we do need to read Days of Future Past.
That's definitely on the docket.
But it's and like the whole like super soldier, like it all kind of fits together. And then Hugh Jackman plays Evil Wolverine.
Evil Wolverine. Okay, so one of the big scenes in the movie, right? Because we're jumping back and forth. Because like I said, this video is not going to be. If you guys are going to notice, this episode's pretty shorter compared to other episodes, because we just don't have much to talk about with movies. Because I feel like to a certain extent the literary analysis is different. It's just going to be shorter because it also gives me a chance to do, work on it. There's this scene involving farmers where a real bombshell moment, because the entire time there's a bunch of major scenes, one of which being the Oklahoma City seizure, which a good moment. Interesting.
See, Charles also kind of twists that into his mind as him saving Laura, even though
which is an interesting thing that even in his adult state he believes himself to be helping.
Yeah.
He's a top G.
Well, I'm glad that he thinks that he's helping, but ultimately that seizure could have ended up a lot worse.
He could have something killed those people.
Yeah, and it's just but you get to the scene with the farmers after the Oklahoma seizure.
Yeah, because basically what it is that some people, these auto truck things, which what a nice dystopian that it's only 4 or 5 years away from us.
Yeah.
They say it's 2029.
Average Tesla moment.
Yeah, where they almost get run off, they get into a ditch, and then some people they see with horses or horse wranglers, they
their horses get let loose because of the accident, and then Charles is
we gotta go help them.
Yeah, we gotta go help them because we're nice good doers. And
it's the right thing to do.
He
talks to horses.
Yeah, Xavier closes his eyes and he speaks Spanish to the horses. and the horses go back into their pen, and then the family's well, thank you, kind sir. Can we bring you back for dinner? And then they take them back to dinner.
And they have this nice little thing where they're
Laura learns to speak.
No.
That's her first time not being mute. Is in that scene. Yeah.
Really? What does she say?
She says something Spanish back to Xavier.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't paying attention. No, there's this nice warming scene, and I do really like the farm stuff because it kind of shows maybe there is a chance. And there's that part whenever he puts He puts like because initially what it is, they eat with them and then they're like, okay, we'll just go to a motel, but then the people are like, no,
hospitality, we have an extra room, you might as well stay.
Yeah.
And then that's when the dad's like, they shut off our water again. I gotta go to the water pump.
Yeah, but before they go out, because Logan chooses to go with him to help, but fucking they put Xavier to bed, and Xavier's like, this is life. Yeah. This is what it's like to live. You know? Because the whole time in the movie, Xavier's trying to convince Logan to just be.
Yeah.
Right? He's trying to help him let go of that, like, even if he's bad at it, even if he's senile and he can't, express it, he still wants to help his, like, this, like, son figure in his life.
Yeah, and Logan's just a depressed shell.
Yeah, he's like
Joel from The Walking Dead.
Shut up. He's like consumed, because again the whole deal is that like he's consumed by like grief and the past, and like not in the sense that, and not in the Batman sense that he's brooding, but in the sense that he's like angry.
Yeah.
That he's like, there's nothing we can do about it. I'm fucking tired of hearing about it. He wants to wallow, but he won't stop. He won't shut up about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Logan's just like, breathe in and enjoy it, right? Yeah. This is the life we can have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then
they go out to go deal with the fucking water
pump, and then Xavier's like, oh, like this is happening while they're coming back, and that's when they also, when they go to the water pump, it's in the cornfield, which is when they explain the super corn GMO stuff.
Yeah.
And then it hard cuts to Xavier and Laura asleep in the room, and then Xavier's like, oh, Logan, you're back. Oh, this is the most perfect night I've ever had. And then he gets stabbed through the chest, because Logan is now evil Logan.
Yeah, it's not our Logan, it's evil Wolverine.
Yeah, it's X-24, which is a perfect clone of Wolverine. Because earlier, when we forgot to mention about when they watched the tape of what was going on in the company when they were making their clones, they wanted to kill off the children because they were refusing to fight and wouldn't do their bidding like they asked. So they had to create something soulless, and so they created a perfect clone of Wolverine from scratch as an adult that was programmed into just listening to them, because they thought that they could nurture in soldiers from childhood, but they couldn't.
What does he say? He said you can't nurture rage?
Yeah, you can't nurture rage. So that's why the kids were like sent to be executed, and why Laura and them are getting hunted down, because ultimately the company sees them as like a liability of like, oh, we could be arrested for all this.
Yeah. I'd say I just find it really interesting they chose like a clone of Wolverine, like a face, which I need to look into how they did that, because they did it with body doubles and stuff, but like it does look really good, especially for 2017.
Yeah.
But I feel like they choose that because it's like a parallel to his like past.
Yeah.
Right, because like Logan is just trying to run, he's trying to survive, and he sees this like beacon of his past, of his like violent tendencies that kills the family that gave them hospitality, that kills fucking Professor X.
Yeah.
Tries to kidnap Laura. Like they narrowly get away, and it's just kind of like this like it is like a dark reflection, but like it is this kind of like dark reflection of him in the sense that like it reminds him of him because it's a younger version, it's stronger.
Yeah.
It's faster, it's more agile, it can heal near instantly like he used to be able to. You know, it's this whole idea, because it to a certain extent would remind him of himself, right?
Yeah. It's him, but evil.
Well, yeah.
Evil Wolverine.
Evil Wolverine. Fuck.
I mean, all that happens, and they tough it out, but Logan's, like, not really bouncing back. We go to an urgent care where he's like, you're being poisoned! And then he was like, yeah, tough shit, Sherlock, I got stuff to do. And then X-23 starts talking, like, actually talking. And then they finally get to Eden. Like, they drive there. And Logan's, like, half dead. And they start patching him with some, like, green serum shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we're going this way. Here's your money. You don't have to be here. And then Logan's like, nah, keep the money. Y'all need it more than me. And then X-23's come through looking all pissed off at me. He's like, what? I took you to your friends. I took you where you went. I never asked for this. I didn't have a daughter. I didn't go, with one of my Mexican prostitutes and have a child. This is all being forced upon me. And then X-23
That's not what happens.
is like, I just want you to be my dad.
That's not what happens.
And then Logan's like, I didn't choose for this. He's like, people around me who I care about end up getting hurt.
Yeah, no, because that's kind of like,
I guess I'll be fine. And it was cold as
hell. Holy shit. So like, skipping forward, they find this Eden place, which they have like these comic books, and they're talking about Eden, and like, and fucking Logan's like, this isn't real, this is bullshit, this didn't happen, like, fuck this, right? And he even notices, like, towards the end, it's the exact coordinates on, like, the envelope are the same as, like, in the comic. And he's like, this shit's not real. But they find it, and it's a bunch of kids together. And, one, he was proven wrong, and he never says it, because he's a little bitch. But, two, yeah, it's just kind of this idea where, like, Logan is just, like... Part of it is that he doesn't want to be around other people because he's scared they're going to get hurt. Because that is kind of...
He's kind of, like what I said in the movie, he's kind of Han Soloing. Like, if you recall, like, in the first Star Wars movie where, like, he gets his bounty and then he's like, well, I gotta leave because, like, I don't want to see all these people hurt. But then at the end, he kind of turns around and helps.
Yeah.
That's basically what happens, but we're following Han Solo instead of that pussy-ass beta male Luke Skywalker.
Who, I guess, in this analogy is Laura.
No. It's the clicker, Charles Xavier.
Charles Xavier is dead. Yeah,
exactly.
But no, I feel like it's kind of interesting because it's this whole idea of he wants to be alone because he's afraid that he's gonna hurt other people. And yeah, Laura drops that cold ass line. Yeah, just like, oh, bars, I should be fine.
Bars.
Which was such a hard line just to be like, yeah, I should be fine. When in reality, he does care about her. He's just bad at showing it.
Yeah,
you know.
And then he, like, wakes up the next morning, they're all gone, and he's like, they're gone. And he's, like, thinking about what doing next. He sees his car, and then he looks through a telescope because he sees a bunch of, like,
military drones.
The military drones are like, oh, fuck, they're in trouble. I gotta go help. My daughter's in there.
Yeah.
And then that's when, they start fighting. A bunch of the really cool cinematography happens.
Oh, yeah, dude, that fucking end fight scene. Dude, holy shit. We're going to talk about general thoughts after we're done talking about, like, the ending.
Yeah.
But, especially since we're approaching the 30-minute mark, and I don't want to go past 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But, like, that end fight's fucking brutal, dude. In a really cool way. I really like, there's that shot where it's him running towards the soldiers, and X-23...
jumps off of him.
He's like, while he's, like, running in the take, she's, like, behind him, like attacking the other dude.
Yeah.
That was a really good shot. The shots in this were pretty good. No, we get this final fight. They get this part with Rice, with Dr. Rice, where he's like, oh, I had to. It's to,
And he talks about the GMO stuff about weeding out. And he's like, I'm not weeding them out because I hate them. He's like, I didn't try to exterminate them. He's like, I just know I can use them as soldiers.
Yeah, it's this whole, like, it's shitty, fascistic, you're useful to me, but I don't, but you're beneath me kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then he dies, he gets killed like a bitch. We get the final fight with X-24, and then Logan fucking dies, dude.
Yeah, dude, he dies.
And I will say, not in this recording, but whenever I first watched it, it was really hard to watch when I first watched it, because I really like Wolverine, and I was like, that's my guy.
Yeah.
And
then he finally, in his dying breath, acknowledges his father role for the first time in this entire movie.
The entire movie.
He's like, I can't be a deadbeat if I'm in mutant heaven.
Yeah, basically. And then there's the little callback with, like, because in the, going back real quick to the fucking thing in Oklahoma City, in the hotel where they're talking about it, and Professor Xavier's like, oh, this movie's almost 100 years old.
Yeah, Professor Xavier's trying to, like, show Laura, like, common life because she's just a kid. And while they're there, Shane's playing on the TV, which is a very good parallel to what's happening, because to not make it about Shane's, like, one of the most overanalyzed, I shouldn't say overanalyzed, but the most, like, analyzed piece of Western media out there. Mm-hmm. With, like, this idea of, like, man v mankind kind of idea, where, like, Shane himself is this, like, wild person who just does what he wants, but the desire to, like, keep the people who's close to him safe, he ends up becoming this hero character that he should never become.
Yeah, because he's just kind of like a gun on the West.
Yeah, he's just
which is a good parallel because that's basically what Logan is. Logan
is Shane.
He's a mutant in the West. He's just this movie's a Western.
Yeah, in its core essence, it is a Western.
Yeah, including the tragic death of the final hero of the tragic hero. You know?
Because he fits everything, and then just like most Westerns, he has the dark triad of personalities.
Exactly.
Logan is the anti-hero throughout the movie.
Yeah, he
is like the most traditional like anti-hero, which I'm glad to see because most people can't think more than 2 seconds, and when they hear the word anti-hero, they want to think of like edgy sometimes hero person, which is not an anti-hero, by the way. Anyone who's listening, that's not what an anti-hero is.
You want to describe what an anti-hero is for?
So an anti-hero, which is a term that was usually classically defined for Western heroes, is the idea of a character whose at the times motives may not be altruistic, but ultimately ends up doing something good, and the most defining traits about their motives usually has to do with what's called the dark triad of personalities. And this is also a term that's used in psychology, but it's a three-way cross between narcissism, Machiavellism, and
Machiavellianism.
Machiavellianism, yeah, Machiavellianism.
I'm gonna stand up and move my legs.
Yeah, I need a relook so you can do that and me look up the dark triad of personalities again, because I know it's Machiavellianism. I believe it's narcissism,
Machiavellianism, and is it like
so the dark triad, right? With personalities, it's narcissism,
Machiavellianism.
Yeah, Machiavellianism and psychopathy.
Okay,
like the idea of a character who is usually not all anti-heroes have to keep these traits throughout, because most of the time what makes the anti-hero an anti-hero is that their actions that's forced upon them eventually makes them reflect on how bad they are. Because the idea is that it's someone who has these traits that ends up being forced into something that's selfless.
Okay.
It's an altruistic ending, and that happens a lot with Western movies. A lot of Western-themed movies, it's always like a gunslinger who only cares about getting paid and like getting paid or having women or having a beer. That's all they care about. They don't care about anyone else, and most of the time the plot is they're there for a bounty to get them money, or they're there to get paid as a farmhand or something. They only care about money, and then they're like, help sir, please. And then they're like, why should I help you? And then eventually throughout the plot they end up either caring about someone, usually there's a woman in it that they care about, or they get paid enough money, or a kid, something makes them care, and then they end up doing the right thing despite those, which Logan fits all of it. He was in it only for the money. He only cared about himself. All he cared about was enough money for him and Xavier to get a boat where he could...
They literally wanted to live the high life for men.
Yeah, Logan's entire plan was to get enough money to buy a boat so him and Xavier could kill themselves out in the ocean.
Basically, like he describes it as like, oh, we'll live out on the ocean and we'll live. But Xavier is very clearly like, so you want us to die in the middle of the ocean is what you're saying.
Yeah, and like the hand of fate forces X-23 on him. Yeah. And he starts doing some of the right things because Xavier wants to. It's his father. And then
Xavier's kind of like his conscience as well.
Yeah, Xavier's pretty much like the, I guess, like, super ego of the plot.
Yeah.
Where he's like, we need to do the right thing. And then once Xavier passes, there is like this moment of like, where he's kind of backtracking, where he's like, I'm only doing this because I said I was going to. And then he does it, he rejects the money, and then he comes help, and that's where like the anti-hero-ness really comes together, because he ultimately does the right thing.
Because he is still a hero at the end of the day. Like, he's still the Wolverine. It's just he doesn't want to... This is a Logan who...
well, Wolverine's the hero. Logan's an anti-hero. That to me, that's the difference. To me, this Logan and Wolverine's a different person, because in my mind, in this story, is less of like the Wolverine coming back, and it's more of like the Wolverine died at the beginning, and this is the mourning process of the Wolverine.
Yeah,
like Wolverine's dead.
Yeah,
this is Logan.
Because like the way I see it is that like Logan he's still a hero at heart. But that part of him is just buried and lost, which is why that pivotal scene at the end, where he's like, where he's by himself, the kids all go, and he sits there, and he sees him. He's like, and you know, Logan at the start of the movie would have just left. Like he would have went, okay, fuck this, I gotta go back, right?
Yeah.
But the Logan that we have by the end of the movie, this journey he goes through, like Professor X, even in his death, has like embodied him and is like, that's not the right thing to do. And so he
Yeah.
just goes running. Like, he grabs his little green liquid, and he goes running.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
never fully explained what the green liquid is outside of medicine.
We were kind of talking during it, but they explain it as this liquid to help stimulate the fucking healing factor. But if you take too much of it, it makes you kind of...
Yeah.
Which was the thing with X-24, is that they're pumping them like full vials full of them.
Yeah.
No, it's just this like interesting journey where the hero, he has to he basically just kind of has to redeem himself, because the way that they imply it with this like Westchester incident is that he basically just gave up after everything happened, after Professor X accidentally killed a bunch of X-Men, a bunch of people. Yeah. He just kind of gave up and was like, shit, I am burdened now. I am burdened with taking care of this weapon disguised as a 90-year-old. Yeah. You know.
And that's why I think
Chalupa, available now at Taco Bell.
Well, that's why I think it is like a pretty good Western ideal, like a movie like, because like that's the thing is
they released a black and white print, like
anti-heroes. They did.
They released a black and white cut of the movie.
Did not know that
in the special edition.
That's kind of crazy. But the whole thing, and like I'm not saying that this makes it necessarily limited, but the main thing is that like the main kind of way you can really tell an anti-hero story is through a redemption arc. Because like if you don't have the redemption, then you're not an anti-hero. You're just
shitty.
You're just shitty. Yeah, you need a redemption, and that's why like I argue a lot of people nowadays like the twist on what an anti-hero
doesn't really work.
Yeah, it doesn't really work
because the anti-hero is meant to be this this literary figure who not necessarily overcomes his shortcomings. Yeah. But does the right thing despite them.
Yeah. And it's like, that's why I would argue and like, call me a dumbass if you want, but those people, because to me, what people do not analyze further than the fact that they think the protagonist needs to be a hero. Mm-hmm. We have tons of media where protagonists are the villain, right? Kind of like the whole thing we talked about before with the American Psycho idea, that Patrick Bateman's not a good guy, and he's not this weird Sigma male that we're meant to look up to. That's the whole point, is that he's an untrusting narrator. That's the most of the time there's a villain as the protagonist. Yeah. But a lot of people, they get these things where there is an untrusting narrator, and just because it's a protagonist, they think they're a hero, and that's where you get like they're not an anti-hero, they're just some overly edgy person. Like, the best way I can think about it is like Shadow the Hedgehog, or until the Venom movies, Venom.
Yeah, well, Venom in popular comics, not in the comics themselves.
Yeah.
Venom was like a true blue anti-hero in the comics.
Yeah, because the thing is that the major perception of Venom, and I would even argue in the movies, Venom is still, like, I'm not talking about Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock is a hero.
Yeah, no, Eddie Brock is a hero. Venom is at his best whenever he's with Eddie Brock.
Yeah, Venom as a symbiote, like, they acknowledge that they, like, you know, they take some of the personalities, but without me talking about how I hate Venom being an anti-hero, is that at the end of the day, even if he takes on some of the personality of Eddie Brock, Venom's still like a symbiote that wants to feed on living things. Yeah. So just because Eddie Brock can control him doesn't make Venom a good person, and he uses him for good things does not make him a good person. Mm. Just like how Spider-Man with the black suit wasn't a good person just because he was better with Venom. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's the same idea, and a lot of people don't understand that, and like...
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
We are coming up towards the end of our recording time, so thoughts on Wolverine as a character?
So basically, Wolverine's like, banana.
No, he's not.
Well, not in this movie.
So Wolverine, for me, is a character that I do like, but I'm not all too familiar with.
Yeah. I mean, you know me, I like the X-Men a lot.
Yeah, I want to save our feelings on the X-Men for whenever we read like an
actual X-Men
comic, which I am looking into X-Men comics for us to read. Because as you guys know, this is not to be shitty towards Cody, but I'm usually the one who finds the comics for us to read. Yeah. But that's because I know more about comics than you do. And I have been looking for that. But Wolverine, for me, as a character, I do know mostly through the movies and through shows and stuff. And I do agree with you. He's like this tragic hero character who is... In the comics and in shows, I always saw him as someone who wants to be alone, but cannot help himself.
He's like, X-Men guts.
Exactly. No, exactly. Yeah. But like, he's someone who even in Wolverine in the X-Men, he's someone who wants to be alone, but he can't not help people. Yeah. It's this idea of a character, and this is the only. The opening of Man of Steel, right, where he's helping people in secret. Yeah. That should be Wolverine. because that's kind of what Wolverine was at least in Wolverine and the X-Men, is this character who wants to be alone but cannot not help people.
Yeah.
You know? But, like, Man of Steel sucks. It's a bad movie. We'll watch it eventually for one of these episodes, I promise.
Yeah.
That episode might be, like, an hour long. But, like, for me personally, Wolverine is an interesting character. And I do have some Wolverine comics over there I do plan on reading on my bookshelf, which I really should get started on. But he is this, like, character who he's the face of the X-Men. Even though he, like I was telling you before we started recording, he didn't come in until the second batch of X-Men. Basically, I think they were planning on being the B team, but ended up being, in my opinion, the more interesting characters of Wolverine, Colossus, Storm, Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Those kind of characters, right?
And it's like, I don't know, it's very weird to think about Wolverine as like the face, since he is that kind of like antisocial character, because like I feel like it also fits in with the idea, because like I feel like the reason Wolverine works so well when it comes to being the face of the X-Men is that not only do the X-Men have this dichotomy going on of being like the group of people who are like most hated in society, but are also like the most helping in society by being heroes.
Yeah.
Wolverine is like the person that should like not want to be the hero, like the leader the most, but ends up being it because like he ultimately pushes his antisocialness aside for like altruistic means.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
No.
Okay. Cool. I thought this was a really good movie.
It was a good movie.
Real quick, we'll do this in like a minute. So the plans for upcoming episodes, we have a little bit of a marathon planning soon for like some specific artists and characters that I don't want to say anything about just in case plans fall through. But we're gonna figure out what our next big movie one is, and then and then we'll keep going. So hope you guys enjoyed this kind of special shorter episode, semi-shorter episode. But that was Comic Book Report. And read comics, watch movies, enjoy literature.
Maybe.